Secrets, don't know how to keep them. When I'm underneath them, they just keep on leaving. Secrets, don't know how to keep them. When I'm underneath them, I'ma leave them needing. I wanna show you off, but you're not on my wave. You just wanna be a secret. Don't.
Started in 2017 just out of the need of seeing Black gay men and queer people of color holistically, trying to do something a little bit different of like how can we develop folks personally and professionally, how can we have these conversations that go a little bit deeper and see us for our humanity. And so without further ado, we will kick off the show. So coming to the stage is a Atlanta native. You may know him as Mr. Glam Rock Soul. Other folks know him as Victor Jackson. He is a singer, songwriter, choreographer, creative director, literally an amazing human being. And so I will bring up Victor Jackson.
Awesome, how you feeling tonight? Good, great. We can go ahead and turn up the beat, DJ Mike. So look, ain't nothing like waking up in the morning to a good band. Am I right? You know, you just get like tracing speeches with your finger and everything. And it just really be feeling like the stress of the day just goes away. Yeah. When I wake up in the morning, love, you can clap, come on. Yeah. And the sunlight hits my eyes. Yeah. Putting something without wanting love. When you tell me on my mind, oh, when I need you, yeah, and the world's alright with me, yeah, just one look at you, hey, and I know it's gonna be, if you know the words, this is your phone, right here, come on, a lovely day.
And so it means a lot for us to be in this space and to share this space with y'all. So for those of you whose first time it is, What We Talks is our curated series of personal and professional conversations, personal and professional development conversations. So here's an opportunity for us to talk about things that are for us, by us, things that affect us. And so tonight we're going to get into it with some really interesting folks who are going to share their experiences and and underscore some of their opportunities that they've had along the way. So I'm going to take a minute and introduce our panel, and I want you guys to greet them with love, if you will. Give it up for Harmonica, y'all. Next up, we have model, public figure, the actor in Love at First Night, and you can catch him in the upcoming series Risk. Y'all put your hands together for Kyle Price. Woo! Next up, we have advocate, entertainer, and online personality, Prince Derek the Dog. Last but not least, we are always excited to hear him and see him. He is the actor, author, and activist. However, he is to us now our newly crowned, deputy director, none other than Julian J. Walker, y'all. He starred in the movie with Monique Blackburn, and also is the author of the beautiful book titled A Year Without You. So, last but not least, she is Moby family and Moby royalty, and we have not done this in 2 years. And so you may, if you subscribe to our newsletters, you may remember her as the person who pins Dear Maria. But I am excited to bring our host. This is a moment for us, y'all. Yeah. Our host, none other than Maria.
And I wasn't gonna leave my drink. Y'all know I wasn't gonna leave that down there. And I'm your host for this evening, Maria. I am Dear Maria behind the Moby articles. If you're not already subscribed, please do. To move on from that, thank you, GNAT and Moby, for having me here at Moby Talks. I'm a Moby Talks OG. I posted several of them, so I'm excited to be back. It took me one hell of a journey to get here, just from Brooklyn. I was in a car for 2.5 hours, so make some noise for that. Also, how's my ponytail? All right, so we want to have some fun, we want to have some laughs, and I just want to set the tone. We like to be candid here. We're all adults. Let's get it out there. If you have a swear word you're going to use, feel free. Be yourself. We want you to be totally open. This is raw. That's how we do it here at Moby Talks. We keep it real. So don't y'all worry. We're going to get into some things, okay? It is perfect to align that I write every day about relationship advice for several publications, and the great thing about today's main topic is relationships, and not those relationships that you know when you lay in bed and cuddle and pillow talk, but those relationships that are intimate platonically, and how we can do better and support each other and be better partners for each other when it's not romantic. So let's get started. I'm gonna have a seat, but let's get it popping. Okay, so topic overview. I'm gonna read from this because I just got here. I literally just pulled up. So, the purpose of this conversation is to explore the idea of peer support among gay and queer men of color. Because of our identities, it is often the dialogue to be centered around the following. The following is how the panelists define their support. So I think it's safe to kind of just set a tone. When I ask one of these questions, we'll go down the line. So we'll start with the fabulous Miss Sunbeam. How do you define support?
Okay, I love it. So I see we all got the Michelle line.
Is this it to say that we can project? I can't.
Oh my God.
Okay.
If you have to project, that would be beautiful.
Okay, I think the room is, intimate enough for us to just project. So if you want to use the mic, feel free. If not, let everyone hear your beautiful voice.
All right, so I'll say that I think that support, what most people think, comes in many forms, and it can be the fact of someone sharing the flyer about Moby tonight, someone actually attending tonight, someone actually sponsoring the event. So it comes in many forms and fashions, and we should appreciate and acknowledge it all. A lot of times, people tend to only focus on the people that actually show up and not really realize some of those people that showed up because of someone else who just shared the flyer or told them about it and stuff like that. So yeah, that's.
And like behind the scenes support sometimes. Sometimes you don't even know who may be supporting you. What about you all? Does anyone have a different definition of what they see support to be? How about you, Pop?
I see support as not only just showing up for people, but just checking in with people. Because I think a lot of times we get caught up in our day-to-day activities, we get caught up in like all the things that we do that nobody actually checks in on the actual person. So if we check in with the people that we're close to, people that we're not even close to.
Like Berkeley, right, this is the Michelle one. You got the Latoya mic. So in alignment with Harmonica and with Kyle, I think that support shows up in many different ways. And for us, who usually most of us operate in media, what we're looking for in terms of support is that mentor or someone who has access to spaces that we may not be able to enter yet, access to information, resources, being of some sort of assistance to each other, making a mutually beneficial relationship, not one that's just transactional, but actually showing up for the person, and making a meaningful exchange. When I look at people who have supported me throughout my career, it's not just people. And even if I don't remember their names, there's always an exchange that's happening. It's not just you just pushing me or pushing what I'm doing. It's no, if there's a way I can help you,
I'm gonna do that. So I know that your support agrees because I'm offering you something that you either need, you want, or enjoy.
Julian, if you have an answer for it, like, how do you separate the expectation between, you know, how people support you and show up for you? You know, you have those social media friends who show up, and then you got your friends that show up. So how do you set that boundary and expectation?
Honestly, for me, it's really similar to like what Kyle said, is are you okay? You know, because I'm really big on mental health, especially this pandemic. If it hasn't taught me anything, is to reach out to people that you really care about, because you never know, you just never know when you're not going to see them again. You know? So a simple okay, and because a lot of people were experiencing the pandemic alone and by themselves, and having to figure out what does alone time look like for me. You know, because before the pandemic, it really felt go, 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 and it made us really look into the mirror at who we are. And for me, it made me really have to figure out, am I okay? You know, so a simple okay for me is like, gets it. That's simple.
And giving yourself the grace to be able to say, I want to be support, but I can't be support until I'm good myself. So you got to make sure you're good before you try showing up for everybody else. Does anyone have an example where they thought, this was the type of support I needed when I was 21, but now that I'm 30, it's different? Is there any examples? Go ahead.
I think just listening to understand as opposed to listening to respond can be a big way to help and show support, because some people like are already anticipating what they want to say to you, I suppose, and give you that advice, as opposed to listening to like what I'm saying and listening to subtext. But what I'm telling you and how I need you to show up, if we just like learn empathy and learn to understand people's languages and how they need you to show up, that will be a huge help. But then also like at 21, I need you to show up and just be like, oh, let's get lit, let's do whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we cool, we friends like that. But friendship at 30 plus, but 30 plus now, it means like, all right, let's sit down, let's unpack, let's find better ways to support each other, let's find better ways to uplift each other, find better ways to talk to each other too. Because sometimes I don't think we understand that like how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to each other kind of like leaves a thing in the back of your head like that leaves you with some kind of doubt. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough for this. Maybe I'm not. But if we learn how we are, how sometimes we talk toxically to each other, and then recognize it and trying to effectively change it like that.
And on the flip side of that, sometimes how we talk to ourselves.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of times we're so hard on ourselves, we're our own worst critics. So how do you take that moment to be like, if I have 5 friends telling me I'm amazing, why don't I believe I'm fucking amazing? Like, I'm great, right? But that's the kind of hardest part. Does anyone else have an example of how you think you've evolved from what support you needed maybe some years ago to now? What has developed, or what has changed, or what is the significant change that you said, this is what I truly needed, this is what truly feels like support now?
When I was in my 20s, when I was in college, I was raised in the South, I'm from Louisiana.
Oh, Louisiana glamour.
And I spent most of elementary and middle school competing. So I was in choir, I was in orchestra, and all those things. And so support, what I thought support looked like for me was just people showing up and clapping and making sure that they were happy for me when I won, and if I lost, or if I got second place, that you made me feel better. Because that was support, not, you know, as a child maybe. When I got to college and was preparing to shape my own future, I realized that it's the value that you place on certain things and interactions. So, okay, well, I've already proven to myself that I can do X, Y, and Z. The claps are gonna come, right? So I don't really need that. I don't need that, that's gonna come. Or what I will need is for someone to listen to me, like you said earlier, like when it has nothing to do with making other people happy. You know, that's when the support shows up, like, hey, this is gonna be hard for me. Because you always
or I think it's like an evolved form. Like you now the claps are great and the claps are gonna come. I still need the claps because I need the claps because it is still support. But now I need this, and this is what I need from these specific people.
Right, and then as soon as you, like you said, you're learning yourself, and there's there is an evolution, right? It's like you said, the clap's gonna come. Well, now I'm having real world problems, okay? Because you're wrong. I have bills now, okay? Bills, okay? Or work of the enemy, right? Change your whole life. So, you can work the enemy. So, as you grow and evolve from 20s to 30s, I think as a grown person, I feel like after certain 34, 35, you've grown. Right?
Yeah.
I'm grown now.
Yes.
My needs, understanding your own needs, not just when it comes to support, so understand what your own needs are and being responsible for those needs. I know at the end of the day, at the beginning, I'm responsible for meeting all of my needs. Now, if that means there's something I have to do to check that box and I can't do it by myself, that's where the support comes from. It's like, listen, even if it's mental health, like, listen, I'm really struggling to get through this day. I don't feel like doing any work. I feel like whatever I'm doing is like it's probably gonna fail. I'm doing that self-doubting thing. Having a best friend that can speak life back into you can change your life, you know what I mean? And then there are some friends who are like, well, I may not have any words for you, but I'm gonna send you something that you like. I have a friend that is a gifter, understanding the language. Horrible advice. Ask them how to get out of paper bag. But if I say that I'm like worn out, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore, I'll get a gift package of like bath bombs because they know I'm living in my bathtub. And it's like, oh, you listen, you learned me. And that's support to me, something small like that.
And more so, it's love. It's someone who took a moment to know who you are, to know what you like, and they did that extra thing that said, this bitch likes bath bombs, let me go get her a bath bomb. You know, and it makes the world of a difference.
Well, what I've come to realize during COVID in my adult years is that grown-up relationships, they require grace. So you have to understand how people show up for you and what they're capable of, how they are capable of showing up for you. So I can't use a measuring stick of how people show up for me because what support looks like to me may not be this. This may be what somebody has to give in this moment. Like that's all they can give. Like some days, I know I can only like put a heart emoji on somebody's. That's all the energy I have today. But it doesn't mean I don't support you in the long run. So like for my own mental health, I don't use measuring stick. It's just like if you show up for me, cool. If you don't show up for me, that's also cool. But I know that like to keep my expectations. Have none.
Have none?
Have none.
So then I challenge anyone to think about it. Is it fair or unfair to have expectations of the people who you expect support from?
I think just to, excuse me,
Yeah.
but for everyone, like we all work in a public setting, so it's like I can't have expectations for everybody. But for my immediate setting, like people that I like bang heavy with, like every day, it's like, all right, I know I go to this friend for this thing, I go to this friend for this thing, I go to for this friend for this thing. So I can't have a uniform expectation for everybody. It's just knowing your friends, having that communication.
And that's the next question that I think we'll get on when we get further on. How are you having that communication? Are you having that dialogue? Oftentimes people are having that dialogue in their head, but they're not saying it. They're thinking, well, my friend should know I wanted them to come to this party. My friend should know I wanted them to show up to my 5th fucking housewarming that I'm having. And it's like, bitch, I was at the first one already. Like, I gotta come to the 5th one? So, what happened to the first one? So, Diva Derek, with that in mind, I'm gonna ask, on top of saying and having those conversations that say, hey, I need support, hey, I need more support, are we also having the dialogue with ourselves that say, we show up for people how people show up for us? Are we holding ourselves accountable with how we show up for people? Or is, sometimes it can be a one-way street. I don't know, I'm just gonna give an example, but for like performers, I'm constantly entertaining and doing stuff, so my friends are constantly always showing up to my shit, coming to all my stuff, and then I feel so guilty. God forbid I can't come to like one of their things. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, how dare I not show up to this when they've come to my last 10 gigs, right? Like, how dare I? But as an adult, I gotta be able to say, hey, I can't make it because of X, Y, Z. What do you think?
I agree with you. That comes with like accountability, holding yourself accountable. So moving the conversation back to Kyle and Harmonica as far as like setting expectations with other people. You're a wise man. About grace. I am still a little bit on the petty side of right at the moment. And that's because I've learned that there are takers in this world that take from you without pouring back into you. And so, as far as managing expectations, for me personally, I don't expect anything from anyone, right? That's how I manage my expectations. I'm having it. I don't expect you to do anything, but I'm grateful for the support that you give me because it's a choice to do so, right? You made the choice to be supportive to me, and I'm appreciative of that. A way that I can show my appreciation is to support you in return. Now, what that looks like may be different. I have friends that are performers. You can come to 5 of my shows. I may not make it to one of your shows, but I can send you flowers, or I can help you pick out an outfit, or I can buy you one. Like there are different ways to show that I'm trying to support you. I hear you, I see you, and I'm here with you.
Even just that phone call, like, girl, how did it go?
Yeah, how did it go? But speaking to a more personal point, the past 3 years, 2 years, I've been a part of a cast of gay men. I know the conversation was about how queer people of color support each other, right? Yeah. And it was a challenge. It was fun. I'm the eldest of 7 kids, so I'm a big brother.
Yeah.
But working with other gay men who have their own dreams, their own ideas, their own paths, and trying to balance the relationship of, okay, well, how do I support this one? This one doesn't like to be supported in this way like this one does, but this one needs us to talk. This one just needs us to show up. This one really doesn't need anything or doesn't ask anything from us. So we have to figure out ways that we can show support. Just finding out the dynamics of the people. What do you need from me? And how can I best support you? So having that conversation, having that question is how you manage that expectation, even if you don't have any. What can I do to show you that I'm here to support you? You tell me how to do that, and I'm going to make sure I do that because that's how you're going to receive it. Because anything I do outside that, you may not receive the support.
Right. So let's go down that road while we're on the subject, right? Amongst queer men of color and how that looks. I know we've all seen those examples on TV, whether it's on Love and Hip Hop or whatever it is, but we all know what shade is, and getting a good read on your girlfriend and keying and whatever, and that's done in lightheartedness and fun amongst familiar people, right? I say that's safe fun amongst familiar people, but because of this new world of social media, and because of this kind of new culture that I think we may all agree, those who know the queer POC experience, is like, it's kind of become a norm, and there's a familiarity of shade and reading with people who aren't familiar, So there's people who, let's say I make a post, and I put a post up, I know we've all kind of seen the insights where you're like, damn, 4,000 fucking people saw this, but only 600 liked it. Like, what's this about? And and oftentimes, I don't know in everyone else's experience, but I think we may share this. You go to a party, and someone puts up a post, and they're like, oh, look at such and such. Child her shoes. Child her this and that. Oh my God. Well, he's a hoe, and he be out here and this and that. And it turns into all this thing where in our community, it's like sport to tear each other down. I was at a Nasty's and someone left their backpack, right? And some, messy individual decided, oh, let's open up their backpack, let's see what's in their backpack. And they started taking out medication. And this person was like, oh, what's this? And people are like, oh, Google this. And in that moment, I had an inner, just this outer body experience that said, what the fuck are y'all doing? I said, don't you dare. Like, no. Like, you don't know what that's for. You don't know what it is. Like, absolutely not. And I would be lying if I said that I've always done that. I just think I was in that opportunity fed up, and it really wasn't funny. And I think I just was like, this is not okay. You're going through someone's personal stuff. Now you're looking up whatever they're taking for whatever reason it is, and it's no one's business. So, how can we challenge our community, our friends, our peers, to be better, support in that? Because that's also support. Support comes behind the scenes. So sometimes when you're not in the room, how are people supporting you, and how are you supporting people who are not in the room? Does anyone have an opinion on that? Go ahead, Julian.
Treat people how you want to be treated. Because I don't play like that.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody to do it to me. Like, I know how it feels to be at the root of a joke.
Yeah.
You know, regardless if it's playing, regardless if it's not, you know, like I'm far too sensitive to be playing with somebody else's life and all that, you know, because I can't be in the seat and be, you know, I can't have that happen to me. So I think it's just as simple as, you know, how you stated it, just in those moments, even if it's not in front of everyone, if you can pull that person to the side and talk to them after, because you know, when you try to correct some folks get embarrassed, they want to go even harder and try to, you know, like, oh, what you doing, you know, and all that. So it's just pull them to the side and have that conversation if you don't feel like it's the right moment to have that teachable moment.
So now I realize I'm going through a transition where people are dropping like flies, okay? So the transition is kind of it's not difficult for me, but it's very weird because now I'm maneuvering in a way where it's not malicious, but it's very careful, like I'm protective of my space now. So how was y'all journey when you realized, because it always happens at the same time, a whole bunch of people just leaving. So how did the journey look for y'all when, you know, people started disappearing?
It's not selfish to take care of yourself first. And then two, you have to allow people to come and you have to allow them to go. Because attachments, like they come with expectations of people. When you have no attachment to people who come or go, then you won't let yourself down as much. Like people will show up for you when they want to show up for you. People won't show up for you when they don't want to show up for you. But that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. So allow people to come as long as they align with where your journey in life is, and that'll make everything so much easier.
That level of self-love of just knowing that, you know, I gotta do what's best for me in this moment, and what's best for me in this moment is pouring into me, you know, and so that's what I've been doing in this season, where it's just noticing that relationships aren't lasting anymore.
There are people who are meant to be 20-year, 30-year long friends, and there's people who are just your special college friends or that first year in New York friends or whatever it is, and it doesn't make it any less special. So if you look at it as like, oh my God, that girl that I was really cool with 3 years ago, like I miss her. It's okay to miss her, you should miss her, she was fun. But I think you can also realize like, oh, I'm in a different place and she doesn't belong in this place anymore. So I think just altering the perspective behind, damn, that person's not in my life no more, it's a bad thing, is no. Now I get to cherish these memories better. Pull out those Polaroids, scroll through that old Instagram post, and be like, damn, I miss her. And hopefully if you have at least a cordial relationship, you could say, hey girl, checking in, hope all is well, but you know where that person now sits in your